Hello and welcome back. This is going to be our second tutorial. Actually it's our third tutorial, but second in sort of construction. We're going to be looking at making our level design. So we have already in Photoshop we have this guy here, so we kind of did a very preliminary sort of design of our level. We're going to have kind of two tiers to it where the character can move on this bottom level, and there's going to be sort of like a mesh kind of walkway that the character can walk on, and there'll be obstacles to either avoid or to manipulate, and then there'll be non-player characters as well. So that's our basic design. We've already looked at in Blender our character, or just this guy here, and just a word about scale with this character. So this character, if I put in a cube in Blender, default cube is 2 meters 6 feet high. So this is 1, 2, 3. So this is about 6 meters high. So what we're going to work on is something like this, which is sort of a modular floor tile that we're going to design our level out of. So how did I make that? So let's show you very quickly. I added a circle, and by default the circle has 32 vertices, so I put in 6. And then I rotated it 90 degrees. I extruded it upwards, scaled it in a little bit, extruded in, extruded down. For those of you who've never extruded before, it's the E key. And I pressed F, so something like that. That's probably better, but anyway. It's very simple. Just going to turn on my screencasting so you can see what I'm doing. So that's how I made it. Then the other important part is you'll see this is slightly wider. Now, this is probably more attractive in terms of how it looks, but I want it to be exactly 2 units wide. And the only reason I want it to be exactly 2 units wide is because when I select this and I go Shift D, G, Y, 2, I can exactly duplicate it across. Now what else have I done with this? I'm just going to scale it in Z by 0.5. Let's make it a bit thinner. What else have I done with it? Well, I've unwrapped it. So I went into edit mode, I selected all the verts, and I went U, project from view bounds, and I got this over here. Then I did a search, which is where we started, for seamless metal, and I got this guy here, and I brought that in to Blender. That's not it. That's it there. And then what I've done with that metal is in Blender I've gone into texture paint. Now I need to add actually a material here, so we'll call this floor 1. And we'll add in a texture, an image texture. Like so. Okay, so here's my image texture, and I'm going to turn on texture so I can see it. And you can see it there, it's quite dark, but it's visible, and it's quite dark over here. But what I did was in texture paint here, I painted. So instead of having view here, I click paint, and then I can paint on it, and I can put in whatever I want. So and then when I finished painting it, I went image, save as. So I've got 3 images of this. This is floor 1. So I'm going to open my image. I haven't saved this one. That's okay. So I'm going to go open image, floor 1, and that's the design on floor 1. Ooh, that's not what I meant to do. I have inadvertently duplicated it. So floor 1. Then what I'm going to do is come out of texture paint mode and go Shift D, G, Y, 2. And on this one here, I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to call it floor 2, and this will be the material for floor 2, and I'm going to open my second image, similar but different. And then again, Shift D, GY2, a new material, floor 3. And basically I'm going to have 3 versions of the floor tile. Okay. Now, with those 3 versions of the floor tile, I'm just going to get a little bit of variety that I otherwise would not have. So let's see how this floor is going to go together for me. So I'm going to go Shift D. Now I haven't named anything yet, so this should move perfectly in here, and it does. So how do I get it there? So I'm going to go GX1, GY minus 1, not quite there, GX1, too far, GX minus 0.5, and it fits perfectly. And now I can go Shift D, GY minus 2, Shift D, GY minus 2. And we'll worry about this sort of inner bit now. So, these all have the same pattern on it. So I'm going to take this one, change its material there, but in this one maybe mix it up to that one. So we're just trying to avoid repeat patterns, that's all. While still kind of having a repeat pattern, I don't know if that makes any sense. So we want it to look like, you know, it's a floor, all the floor tiles are the same, and every now and then there's one that's, you know, slightly different. And we can maybe make this one slightly darker so that doesn't stick out as much. So I'm just going to add in a mix shader. I may have done this in the wrong one. So floor 1, here we go. And add in the mix shader. And okay, now we can't see it when I go into render mode. That's because, well, I haven't set it up. Okay, so okay, so far so good. So my that's my floor. It's a bit dark, but you know, it works. Now, where is my camera? So let's go Alt or Alt G. Here's my camera, or minus 90, GY, and then GZ. So let's look through the camera. So that's what the camera sees. Now, we want, if we go back to our reference here, it's only a very small proportion of the image is the floor. So we basically want this to end. So how do I do that? Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. I'm going to go into edit mode, and for this one I'm going to delete all the verts on this side, and that's going to leave me slightly wonky in the sense that I'm missing a piece. And go F. Let's see what we've got. So that allows us, now we've got a half piece. So anywhere we need a half piece. So for example, Shift D or 180, GY minus 6. So now we've got yeah, now we've got it to basically we can move ourselves across. So I can take these here, and if I go Shift D, GX, if I look in the bottom left hand corner there, it's 3.1. It says I go 3. So if I select these guys, Shift D, GX 3, and now you can see I've got this modular floor, and suddenly I can build a floor that I can travel along. Now I don't need a lot of it, but that's a way to start. So this is kind of a modular construction on our level. So for making sort of the inside of a, you know, like inside of a spaceship or something that my mech is inside, this is sort of how we would do that. So now we need to decide a few design sort of issues here. So where does it go next, my floor? Well, so let's take this guy here and go Shift D and then go or minus 45. And I'm going to try and position GZ1 is too high. So I'm just going to position it by eye. So I'm going to place this here. Now, so there's my kind of slanty base. I'm going to go Shift D, GX minus 3. So that's in the correct position. And now basically I want to put a half one here, and then I can put a whole one above it. But I actually don't want the whole one above it, so I want this to go vertically up. So I want 2 halves and 2 halves here. Again, I only need to do it once correctly, and then yeah, then I can duplicate it, Shift D or 180. And then the easiest thing for me to do is actually just go cursor to selected and then rotate around the 3D cursor, which is or minus 45. So now that fits in there perfectly. And I can go Shift D, GX minus 3. So happy days. Now we can swap out all the textures in these in a moment, and we'll add in cabling and all sorts of details. We're just trying to get the basic shape of our level design. And now what I want is the upper half of this. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to go Shift D and then I'm going to go G, X, X. So this is its local X axis. And I'm going to go or Z. Let's see if we can see this. Or Z, Z. 180. Now, that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, but that's okay. So I can go G, X, X and move it back up into position. And let's see if we can get it to kind of reach the edge here. So G, X, X. So this is the difference between it moving on a local axis and a global axis. So let's see if that works, or if I've gone too far. So I can see some gaps here. It's not perfect, but not bad. So now I can go Shift D, G, X minus 3. Okay, so I'm going to save that file, save, and that's what I've got so far. I'm going to go to rendering, see what I get. I go to GPU rendering, and it's coming out black. So let's turn on. So I have no world. So I'm going to turn on the world, turn on ambient occlusion, and now it comes out like that. It's too bright, my world, so I'm going to bring it right down. Go to render view, and I have a lamp in here. Now we're going to join a lot of these together so it'll become less cluttered in a minute. Here's my lamp. So let's give the lamp a color. Oh no, sorry, that's my world I'm doing. That's not what I want to do. Here we go. Where's my lamp? There's my lamp. Thank you. Use nodes. So I'll give this a bit of a color, and then increase. Actually, no, that 100 is plenty of illumination. Go back here. Ambient occlusion is very high, so I'm going to put this in at 0.1, and then I can start increasing the strength of my lamp. Now I need to find my lamp. So it's very high up, so I'm going to go G, move it down here. Okay, let me go back to rendered. So now we can see what the camera can see. So, I can increase the light from this and press F12 to see what we render out when we generate a sprite. and at the moment that's what it'll look like. We can have all sorts of fun with this, make it red, and also just keep it normal and render it out like that. And obviously we can mix things together, so you know, I can duplicate the lamp and make the other one slightly blue, maybe not as bright, because that's fierce bright, and take the other lamp, again that's fierce bright. So anyway, so we can do all these things. We can turn these lamps, I'm just going to delete this one. We can take these lamps and we can change what type of lamp they are. So at the moment, you know, when we look at the lamp, here it's a point lamp. We can turn it into a spot lamp, change the, you know, so we can make it so that's a practical lamp that's actually hanging down in the level. Make it into a hemisphere or an area lamp, or you know, we can do a lot with it. And we don't have to worry about this, you know, what we see is what we get. So, you know, that's not too bad in terms of our level design. Okay, so I'm just going to save it at that, and you can see kind of it's modular, and our next few steps now will be kind of joining these things together. So you select two of them, Control J joins them together. And we will be basically selecting all this and inverting it and turning it upside down, so the floor is also the ceiling, and then we'll build a straight wall here, which won't take very long at all. So very quickly we'll have a segment of our level. We'll design it and add tweaks to it, etc. And then because of the nature of how it's made, it'll be very simple for us to duplicate it and fill the entire length of our level. And we don't have to worry about geometry. Like there isn't that much geometry in this anyway, but I'll be adding in lots and lots of geometry and like cables and you know, extra pieces in the level to give it detail. But we don't have to worry about that because we're just going to render it out as a sprite, so it's just going to be a JPEG. So it doesn't matter the amount of geometry that's in this 3D file, because this 3D file is never going to be imported into Unity. We're just going to end up with a sprite. Alright, that's enough for now.